This just in, you are looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
The entire top of the building just blew up.
The second explosion and another explosion. We have a report now of a fourth explosion at the Trade Center. There has just been a huge explosion. It almost looks like one of those implosions of buildings that you see.
We heard a very loud blast, an explosion. Not clear now is why this explosion took place.
Do you know if it was an explosion or if it was a building collapse?
To me, it sounded like an explosion,
but it was a huge explosion.
I saw the two buildings. I'm thinking it was a bomb because two of them.
This is actually, we believe, debris from one of the planes that hit one of the towers on the World Trade Center.
ما هي إلا رد فعل للظلم المتواصل الذي يمارس على أبنائنا في فلسطين وفي العراق وفي الصومال وفي جنوب السودان وفي غيرها كما في كشمير وآسيا. فالأمر يخص الأمة بأسرها، فينبغي على الناس أن يستيقظوا من رقادهم وأن يهبوا لإيجاد حل لهذه الكارثة التي تهدد البشر جميعا. وأما الذين أدانوا هذه العمليات فهؤلاء نظروا إلى الحدث بصفة مستقلة.
July 4th, 2001. Osama bin Laden, wanted by the United States since 1998, receives medical attention at the American hospital in Dubai, where he is visited by a local chief of the CIA. July 24th, 2001. Larry A. Silverstein, who already owned World Trade Center 7, signs a $3.2 billion 99-year lease on the entire World Trade Center complex 6 weeks before 9/11. Included in the lease is a $3.5 billion insurance policy, specifically covering acts of terrorism. September 6, 2001, 3,150 put options are placed on United Airlines stock. A put option is a bet that a stock will fall. That day, put options were more than 4 times its daily average. Bomb-sniffing dogs are pulled from the World Trade Center, and security guards end 2 weeks of 12-hour shifts. September 7th, 2001. 27,294 put options are placed on Boeing stock, more than 5 times the daily average. September 10th, 2001. 4,516 put options are placed on American Airlines, almost 11 times its daily average. Newsweek reports that a number of top Pentagon brass canceled their flight plans for the next morning. San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown receives a phone call warning him not to fly the next morning. Pacifica Radio later reveals that this phone call came directly from National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice. And in Pakistan, at a military hospital, all of the urologists are replaced by a special team in order to host their guest of honor, Osama bin Laden, who is carefully escorted inside to be watched carefully and looked after.
This dust is caused by extremely high pressure. When we look closely at the area that is collapsing, we find dust shooting out of every window on the entire floor at the same time. The towers had a steel frame, so the only way they could collapse is if thousands of joints were broken. The towers collapsed in less than 10 seconds, which is an average of 10 floors every second. Next time you see a 10-story building, imagine the entire building crumbling in 1 second. The only buildings that collapse this quickly are the buildings that are destroyed with explosives. The towers had 110 floors, so if it took 1 second for each floor to be crushed, that would be 110 seconds. However, the seismic data and video show that the North Tower collapsed in only 8.4 seconds. The collapse started at about the 94th floor. If you were to drop a rock from the 94th floor, it would hit the ground about 8.4 seconds later. This means that the pieces of the building were falling as fast as objects fall through the air. How can objects crash through steel and concrete floors as fast as they fall through the air? There is only one explanation. Explosives were placed in these buildings before the attack. The collapse of the North Tower started when explosives at the 94th floor were detonated. The explosives were timed so that the floors were shattered before the rubble contacted it. The pieces of the building fell in only 8.4 seconds because none of the pieces crashed into a floor. We were told that fire caused the towers to collapse, but no large building has ever collapsed from a...
Studied physics at MIT. I did electrical engineering for about 8 years, so I've got quite a bit of practical engineering experience. When I first saw the collapses, I was absolutely convinced that they were not spontaneous. One of the first things that I did was to speak with one of my patients, who was a retired Army Corps of Engineers, a fellow who's done a lot of demolition and construction. Showed him some of the public source videos that are available of it, and he immediately pointed out that there were squibs, which represent little puffs of smoke essentially coming out of the buildings initially, which were clearly a sign of controlled demolition. He had no opinions beyond that, but he said, that sort of set me on the path of continuing to examine it, to trying to gather as much evidence as I could. And the question I pose, what don't we know and why don't we know it, is sort of addressing the fact that at this point,
let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories concerning the attacks of September the 11th. Malicious lies that attempt to shift the blame away from the terrorists themselves, away from the guilty. Conspiracy theories, conspiracy theories, conspiracy theories, conspiracy theories.